concept or use it for effective learning for our students as well. So let me just share my screen. Is my screen visible? Can somebody just acknowledge that?
No, sir.
No, sir. Yeah.
Now it has come, sir.
Yeah, okay, great. Okay. So basically we'll talk about reflections and how we can use reflections for learning. So this is the first part of today's talk, and after this session we will go on to basically how to make Google Slides, and we will have that as a hands-on activity since we are very few. So the objectives of the first session, we will have an introduction to what is reflection, what are the benefits of reflective practice. We'll see certain methods of reflection and see how reflection in personal and professional development, how it can be made useful, effective. Okay, so what is reflection? Can somebody just share what is your understanding of this word reflection? Anyone? What do we mean when we ask somebody to reflect on something?
Just to recall.
Okay. Just recall, or is it anything else? I mean, what else? Anything else along with recall?
So the image that we see in the mirror, sir.
Sorry, sir?
Sir, image we saw in the mirror, sir.
Okay, an image which you saw in a mirror is a reflection. Okay, so can we think about it in the context of teaching learning? We as teachers or we as learners or lifelong learners?
Parents are able to answer how much they have understood.
Dr. Patil mentions feedback and experience. Okay. What else?
So basically, a student, what he gives back, whatever he learns, an experience he shares with us.
Okay, fine. So coming to the next part, the second question, why is it important or how does it help in learning? Whatever you all just mentioned, how does thinking on what happened help? Explaining learning outcomes, yes. What else?
So this gives an introspection to the teacher whether the audience are able to understand what we are telling.
Okay, so that's a feedback to the teacher, yes, whether the audience has understood. But any benefits for the learner? How does or how would reflection help the learner or the participants?
First, they will imbibe whatever the knowledge is being given to them, and then it is being reflected.
Okay. Imbibing the knowledge and skills, so that reflection helps in imbibing of knowledge and skills. Okay, fine. We'll come back to this point, ma'am. Would anyone else like to add?
Sir, it allows the learner to know whether he can introspect on whether he has learned it well or not.
Okay, but again, so this word of introspection is coming up many times. So why do we want the person to introspect, or what are the benefits of introspection? So based on learner's reflection, Dr. Patil mentions, it's there in the chat box. What have you added?
Sir, it will give us the teacher, is there any improvement of explaining the facts?
Okay, it helps the teacher also improve based on the learner's reflection, teachers can improve. Okay, fine. So some benefits of reflective practice. There is enhanced self-awareness by the person who is doing reflection. Okay, so what did I do? What did I do well? What could have been done better? Or as a student, what was the topic which was covered today? Okay, how much have I understood? Is there anything which I have not understood as well? Okay, so this will ultimately help in personal and professional development. We will see, and ultimately help develop the critical thinking and problem solving skills of the learners. Different methods of reflection which are available out there, journaling, mind mapping, just doing group discussions, metacognitive questioning. Does any one of you follow any methods for reflection or reflective practice as a hobby or as a regular routine? Is anybody already doing this?
The group discussions we usually end.
Group discussion. Dr. Anand Bansal also mentioned. So would you like to share what exactly do you do in the form and how does it help in reflection?
Sir, maybe after the topic, we make small group teaching, maybe small group reflections where they'll be able to give us whether how much they've understood, what is the progress which can be made further to understand the subject a little more better, and then that feedback is given to the teacher so that we'll be able to deliver the lectures in a better way.
Okay, yes. So at the end of the class, at the end of a learning experience, you ask your students in small groups to reflect on what was done.
Yes.
Okay, yes, thank you for that. Would somebody else like to share? Anyone else would like to share?
Few classes you've done mind mapping also, sir, so that they jot down whatever has been learned so far and how the learning process started and what and all, how the learning has branched over a period of time in the class, and ultimately how much of knowledge they have imbibed. Maybe for few classes we have done mind mapping also.
Great. Okay. So has it been useful? How was the experience doing mind mapping?
It was a mixed kind of reactions from the student perspective, sir, from student per se, because only few students were showing their interest to do mind mapping or getting involved in group discussions, because it should not become compulsive. So we were asking them to voluntarily get involved and share their experiences.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, ma'am. Okay. Fine. So let's move forward. So now what we would like to show you now is this model of Gibbs reflective cycle. Okay. So this model has 6 components when it comes to a reflective practice. So the first component is out here, description of what happened. Feelings, what were you thinking and feeling? Evaluation in terms of what was good and what was bad about the experience. Analysis of what else could you have done to in that given situation. Conclude, what else could you have done? An action plan. If the same situation arose again, what would you do again, or what would you now do differently? Okay, so now I want you all to just, maybe you can take, this is a very famous model, gives a reflective cycle. You put it on Google, you'll find various images of it and a lot of description about each of these steps. But right now, what you can do is maybe just take a photograph of this one slide, because this will help you in the activity now further. So just take a photograph. Okay, let me know once you are done.
Done, sir.
Done? Everyone done? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let me just stop my screen sharing for the time being. Okay, so now what we will do is we will we'll go into our breakout rooms. Okay, and within the breakout room now, I want each one of you to think of any kind of a learning experience in the past which you have had as a learner. Okay, keep this Gibbs model in front of you. Okay, and just follow that step. So what actually follow the 6 steps of the Gibbs model and describe your learning experience. So describe what happened, what are the feelings you were going through, evaluate what was good and what was bad, what else could have been done in that situation, and if the same situation arose again, what could you have done. Okay, so it can be any kind of a learning experience, it can be any kind of an encounter with a colleague, it can be any scenario which has left some kind of an impact or which is there in your memory. It can be fresh or recent. But what is important is I want you to undergo this experience of following the reflective practice in the using the Gibbs 6-step approach. Is the task clear? Everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you can take how many members do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll break down into
2 groups.
2 groups. Okay, so maybe we can take up to 3 minutes for per participant, where there are going to be 3 members, and of course the group having 2 participants has around 5 minutes. So maybe we will have a breakout room for 10 minutes in which I want each one of you to share your experience across these 6 steps. So what is going to be important is the depth and the quality with which you describe or narrate your experience. Okay, so maybe you can just take a minute to reflect on what you actually want to say, compose it out, compose your words, and then you can share it out within your group. Is the task clear? So we'll break out into the rooms now and have go there for 10 minutes. Samik, breakout room 10 minute नहीं, 10 minutes to breakout rooms. Audio, can't hear you. તમારો અવાજ નથી આવી રહ્યો. રૂમ ચાલુ થઈ ગઈ જ મને દેખાઈ નથી રહ્યું. ડોક્ટર પડિયાર અમારા જોઈન થયા છે, એમને એડ કરો ગ્રુપમાં, જે બી ગ્રુપમાં હોય તે. હવે ગયા ને બધા ગ્રુપમાં? ઓકે, 10 મિનિટનું રાખો ટોટલ. 10 મિનિટ થાય એટલે બંધ થઈ જશે. ઓકે. Yes, so welcome back. Okay, so how was the experience of going through this process? Who would like to share?
So can I say first?
Yes, ma'am, please.
I'd like to share my experience as a teacher
Yeah.
through this GIFS reflective cycle. The first heading is regarding the description. Under that, I would like to say that whenever we take a theory class, if it is a non-clinical topic, the students doesn't get interested in the class. Most of them are non-attentive in nature. So regarding my feeling, I feel actually pity for them, pity for myself also.
Okay,
But
ma'am,
they're
can I,
not-
sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, ma'am. Right now, I don't want you to share actually what your story was.
Yeah.
But what I am trying to ask you is, I want your reflections about this reflective process. So you
Okay.
all went through this experience of doing reflections. What happened? What are your reflections on this process?
Reflection in the sense you mean to say about this teachers training program?
No, right now reflections about the past 10 minutes. You were asked, you were given a task, you were asked to think about an experience and share it with your colleagues.
Mm-hmm. Actually, we didn't say among ourselves, we wrote it down individually. So let others share.
Okay, yes, fine.
Sir, it made us
Then
to
we'll come back to you,
introspect
Dr.
ourselves.
Fine, yes. Yes, sir.
Sir, it made us to introspect ourselves to feel what we had gone through previously,
Mhm.
and also to think about the processes that we have gone through, and what all that would have happened and what would have to be improved upon subsequently.
Okay, fine. Thank you for that. Someone else in your group, maybe the other group members were doing it individually, but those of you in your group can share.
So can we say in that way that if we had not gone through this teachers training program, probably our way of thinking would have been different. And this compelled us to think that whatever approach we are making, some of them were correct and some of them needs to be refined for the future.
Okay. Yes, since Dr. Minora, since your group did not share it amongst your members, we have some time. We can, take your experiences also. You can continue what you are sharing. Yeah.
So that I that I spoke spontaneously impromptu.
Okay.
Actually, we didn't discuss anything.
Okay.
We were writing our individual experiences in that context, according to either as a faculty or as a trainee. We have done some.
Fine. Someone else? Anyone else?
Dr. Jyoti, you are muted. So she is sharing, but her microphone is muted. Dr. Jyoti.
Can you just unmute Dr. Jyoti?
Yeah. Sir, actually, this GIPS reflective cycle is regarding you asked us to describe regarding any event, one event which has happened during our learning. And actually, this has a reflective cycle has a 6 steps. Okay. So one advantage of this is like when you start going each stage by stage. For example, I have taken what happened when I was learning. My teacher told me to stand out. The description of that, I was late by 5 minutes. So I was asked to make stand outside during my PG life. So the feeling what I felt was thinking at that time, why for 5 minutes people make me to stand outside? So that was the feeling I had. And the evaluation I felt was in one way it was good because they are making us more disciplined. In the other way, I was feeling bad because of the traffic in Bangalore, we couldn't go exact time. So when I analyzed the situation, I felt both positive and negative things. So in conclusion, what else should have been there? I felt like the teachers might have given me an option of 8 to 8:10. So 10 minutes break, like the time break they might have given. So if I was a teacher, what action plan I should have taken was I should have given a like time period of you please come 8 to 8:10. So 10 minutes time will be there, so they can manage that. So that's what I felt. So this cycle gives a good option for us to make correction and improve in teaching lifestyle as a teacher as well as other thing. I felt that. So that's what
Thank
I
you,
know.
Dr. Jyoti, for sharing your experience. Yes,
Thank-
someone else.
Sir, I've shared my screen, sir.
Yes, sir, please go ahead.
Sir, this I just made a slide out of the gifts table that you gave, sir. This is my observation on micro teaching, which I did first time, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sir, it was a description was a micro teaching that I was very first time. My feelings for it was a most well organized way of practicing teaching methodology. My evaluation is get to know strength and weaknesses and needful steps for betterment, sir. My analysis is organizing the way in which lessons can be taught. So this is how I understood about the micro teaching. My conclusion is practicing as many times to make lecture delivery perfect. Action plan is make it as a ritual or as a plan to all teachers who wants to deliver their lectures for the first time, sir.
Okay. Thank you for that crisp summarization of your experience. Okay, so does anyone else like to share? We have almost everyone who has joined. So anyone else would like to share their experience of this reflective cycle? Okay, so as we begin with, this is just one of the models of reflective practice which are there, and there is a lot of literature available out there on how this model can be used to enhance learning as well. So there have been studies which have shown that students to following this cycle, maybe in a very structured way of writing and documenting it down, ultimately helps in improving the learning and the learning experience for the students. So this would be a kind of a nice habit to kind of imbibe both ourselves as well as translate it on to our students. Definitely in the long run, there is hardcore evidence to support that having a reflective practice in a structured way definitely enhances learning for the students. Okay, and of course there are many more models available, a few simpler with more less steps, a few more complicated ones, but this is one model which kind of covers everything, right, starting from what happened. It takes care of what happened, it takes care of the feelings and emotions, it takes care of the analytical components of what actually you thought. There is some kind of a conclusion and some further steps for future direction. Okay, so again, this is a model which you all can follow, and throughout the remainder of the course also, we would want you to kind of reflect for every session which happens, and this is the model which you can use. Okay, so maybe at the end of today's session as an assignment, you all can submit a reflection on what went well or a reflection about today's session on reflective practice. Okay, so that is an assignment which we would want you to submit. And of course, you can use this model to submit. So fine, let's move ahead. So as you all just experienced, reflection, it helps in personal development by helping us understand our personal strengths and weaknesses. It helps us to set goals and decide on action plans for the future. And it also helps us to adapt to the changes and challenges which might come ahead. Talking about professional development, it helps us to improve our decision-making abilities. It helps us develop our leadership skills. It helps enhance teamwork and communication. Okay, so both, this is a very short summarization of the benefits which can happen on a personal and a professional front. But as you start using this model in a regular practice, you will realize and witness the experiences yourself. And I think that is what we want you to go through finally. So to conclude about reflection, what did we do? We just, in the beginning of the session, we took your understanding of what exactly is reflection. We essentially introduced you and made you undergo the Gibbs model of reflective practice. You all shared some experience using that model. And through that experience, we realized that it is definitely beneficial, and regularly practicing this model will help not only in personal but also professional development. So this is, just in short, to conclude about reflection and reflective practice. Yes, would anyone like to share anything? Was anyone saying anything? Okay. So I hope the task is clear now. The assignment, a short assignment, it can be a half page or up to 1 page write-up following the 6 steps on Gibbs reflective practice on reflect on today's session. What happened?
Sir,
Right?
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
So the biggest challenge, if at all, if you want to get this concept of reflective writing and reflective practice among students, the basic challenge is, since it is not part of the curriculum, probably they will not get involved in how to do a reflection, and they might feel it unnecessary for us to, even if we are asking that what is the reason of us to reflect regarding a course or a content or a class. So how do we overcome this challenge, sir? How to bring in that or cultivate that habit of they have to reflect after every class, and so that it would be of benefit to them in future. So what do you think should we, so what would be your suggestion on it, sir?
Definitely a very valid point, for sure, madam.
Yes.
Before I share my thoughts on this, would anyone like to comment on the challenge which madam has mentioned?
Because it is not part of the curriculum.
Agreed, absolutely. Yes.
So, but in the long run,
how do we make our students a part of the process? Any strategies to overcome this challenge? Anyone? This is a point for reflection in itself.
Yes, sir. So I personally couldn't make them understand that why this concept is so very important in their normal development, overall development, their personality development also. But I was actually not successful in bringing.
So if I can just ask you, madam, you have attempted doing this and you found that it was not a successful attempt. So did you use any kind of a structured model in the first place, or you just asked them to reflect?
No, because that would be of too very conceptual. If I tell them this is reflection in the normal process of teaching on the subject, probably they will not be interested to know beyond that. So I just wanted them to reflect on what they've learned and what were the pitfalls.
So
better I can refer myself.
Yeah. So definitely, ma'am, maybe one of the challenges would have been from the students' perspective is that they were not clear as to what exactly to do when it comes to reflection. Okay. How do I reflect? So making use of this model, show them the chart, show them this image, share it out with them and give them, these are just the 6 points which I want you to do. So that is one thing which you can try. The second thing which you can try out first is, try it out with your postgraduates. The reason being, they are going to be a smaller group. It's a smaller cohort. So you will get the experience and confidence of doing it. Their experience and the experience of managing a smaller cohort will definitely give you insights about what to do differently when it comes to the undergraduate level. But yes, so the two tips which I would like to share is start with your PGs first. Then move on to the undergraduates and use this model to show them and share with them. And there are other models as well. So just explore online and you'll find different models. One thing which you can do is give them examples of what exactly do you mean when you are asking them to reflect. So you can yourself create a few scenarios about your experiences, as you just mentioned. This was the learning experience. This is what happened. This is what I felt. These were the emotions. This is what I was thinking. This was the conclusion. And in future, if this has to be done, this is how I would do it. So giving them those concrete examples will help them channelize their thought process when it comes to how to do a reflection. So you can just try out these tips in your classroom and see whether it's useful. Obviously, in the first attempt, all of your students, all 50, all 100 will not be able to grasp it. It takes time. As you mentioned, that students will always question that why am I doing this? And that's absolutely fine. The whole idea is for them to start thinking on what they are learning and why they are learning. Okay, so another way you can give them some kind of a clinical context to reflect on. So if whenever it's a kind of a clinical context, it can be an operating setting. Okay, it can be an OPD encounter on a particular patient, on a particular case, and you can ask them to reflect on that clinical experience of that case using this Gibbs model. So now you are not actually asking them to reflect on the Gibbs using the Gibbs model, but you're asking them to reflect on what happened in the clinic. But just use this model to reflect. Okay, so if you are giving them a context and a relevance of what they are doing, I'm sure they will not question the need for doing it.
Okay.
Would anyone else like to share anything?
Sir, actually, I tried it at home with my own son, sharing my own examples, and then this is how I reflect. Now you tell me what is your experience, what and all went wrong, how you can improvise. Maybe first 2 sessions were okay. From the 3rd session onwards, every day you're asking the same thing. Maybe I will try it on some other day. So I started at home. So maybe over a period of time.
So again, doing it just, there has to be some intended outcome, desired outcome to it. Otherwise, it becomes a mechanical process then.
Exactly. True, sir. True, sir.
So that's the experience which comes out after doing it over a period of time. So thank you for sharing that insight also. Okay, so I think this is, so thank you for reflecting on your experiences in the session, and hopefully this session will help you to reflect more, better and effectively, and help your students become effective reflective practitioners. Okay, so let's we move on to the next session. We close on the session on reflection now. Any other closing comments? Otherwise, we move on to questionnaire development. Okay, fine. Now, moving on to Google Forms. So that is the next topic which we intend to cover for today. So how many of you have some kind of a questionnaire or some kind of a survey coming up as a part of your project? Most of you have it?
Yes, sir.
1, 2, can you just raise your hands? 3, Okay, those who are on the others are any other videos are off. Okay, 4. Okay, so how many of you have already used or developed a form on Google Forms? Anyone has the experience of doing it? Okay, yes. We have one hand here. Who else?
So we got a demonstration last session, sir, on Google Form. So that was my first time that I made a Google Form.
Okay, okay. So
Same here,
after,
sir.
yes, ma'am.
Just tried little bit after last session's demo.
Okay, so the last session was taken by Dr. Chinmay.
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yeah. So now, okay, so it's good that since he has done it and it's been a week since then. So what have you subsequently navigated through it? What challenges are you facing? If any, we can kind of troubleshoot those now.
Sir, validation of questionnaire will also be did, sir, because before we could plunge into development of a questionnaire, maybe how it has to be validated. Will that be taken as a separate session, sir?
Okay, so
Yes, sir.
will it?
And my question is, sir, suppose my topic is based on some modification of OSCE's principle. So most of the OSCE's questions are according to the medical problems. So how to frame the questions? Should I frame the question totally on my way and then send it for validation? Because there is no fixed format. The OSCE format for the medical is differing from your dental situation.
Okay, I'll take this question first and then come to the validation component. So OSCE is an assessment format. It's a way of conducting the exam. So what you want to conduct the exam on is your clinical content, your subject specialty area. So obviously it cannot and will not be the same from a medical perspective. So whatever clinical station you are designing, those components need to be there as a part of the OSCE checklist for that specific station.
That is the thing, sir, I'm telling you, no?
So you
that
have to design
particular-
it on your own.
Yeah. Because
You have-
because my situation doesn't match with that of the MBBS situation.
Ma'am,
So
let's keep the medical out of it right now.
Yeah.
We need not compare with the medical. I think what is it will be purely for your own subject. I think what is required is that in an OSCE, on one hand, you have if there is a particular procedure, for a particular procedure, there would be a series of steps which the student has to perform. So you list down those steps in sequence. And next to it, whether the student has performed it or not, yes, no, and maybe you can have a component of how well he performed. So yes, it has to be customized for your own subject specialty. And coming to validation, it has to be validated from your own subject expert. So coming to the process of validation. Now, there are different kinds of validity. Maybe we will plan for a separate session on that. But what is more important to realize is that what exactly is our understanding of validity of a test? So is our test assessing what it is supposed to assess? If yes, it is a valid tool. Okay, so if you're, suppose now talking about that OSCE station, which madam was just mentioning about, whether that OSCE station is covering all the steps which are desired or which should be performed or demonstrated by the student. And if all those components are listed down in the OSCE checklist, that would make the test more valid. But if there are some components which are not for that particular task but still listed out, it would reduce the validity. Okay? So the entire purpose of validation is to help us become more sure that whatever test or whatever questionnaire we have designed, whether it is suited for that purpose or not. Suppose we are creating a test, a questionnaire on taking some kind of a feedback from students after doing some teaching learning method, yeah, or some interactive or some intervention. So whether your questionnaire covers all the aspects of the intervention which were covered or not, your peer validation process will help you to refine that questionnaire. So for the time being, when it comes to peer validation of your question tool, what we would advise is develop your tool, share it with the concerned subject experts. You can share it amongst yourself. You can definitely share it with us. We will give our inputs to it, and of course, everybody will give you their inputs to it. And through this process of receiving inputs, automatically your questionnaire is getting peer validated. Please ask your questions now, whatever you have for.
Sir, how do we get to know that our questionnaire has been validated, and is there any score or any criteria which says that
there are some statistical dimensions to it, but I don't think, don't get stuck in all those aspects right now.
Okay.
If that is how an educational research is different from a hardcore medical research. There are too many variables, and if you realize, a lot of the questionnaires are going to be based on qualitative parameters, on feelings, on emotions, what happened. It's going to be a lot of reflective experiences coming up through those questionnaires. So yes, there are ways of giving numbers statistically, but that is not the intended purpose of doing the project right now. I think right now what would be essential is peer validate them, and we are all there, and for whomsoever we feel that yes, that is something necessary for this specific project, we will advise you to go through that process. Okay, so right now, start creating your tool, the questionnaire, and don't worry too much about its validation right now. Validation in terms of statistics. What else? What other query do you have for your questionnaire? Have you started making or using the Google Forms to create your questionnaires? Anyone facing any difficulty over there in terms of the
we can revise one more time, and that will be good for us.
Okay. Fine. So let's go to Google. Let's revise the whole questionnaire thing again. I hope you can all see my screen now, the Google Drive. Can somebody confirm? Yeah, okay. So on your Google Drive, you have to go to add new and select a Google form. There is an option of selecting a blank form, a blank quiz, or from a template. There are different types of templates already there, which can be used or customized, or you can just simply start off with a blank quiz. Okay. So let's just create we'll start with a blank quiz. Fine. So this is the blank form which is now created. Every form can be given a title first. Okay. Now, so as soon as the person clicks on the link which you will be creating, this is the form which will come up. But before that, over here, you can give your form a title. So this is the title which will then be showing up on your Google Drive. You can call it project, or you can call it CCHPE project, for example. Okay. This is my questionnaire. In the form description, you can briefly invite your participants. So this is going to be like an introduction. Okay. You can tell them about the purpose of your questionnaire. Okay. You can seek their consent to be a part of the questionnaire. So all these things can come up in the introduction about the questionnaire. And then as a part of the first question, you can give them a question as I consent to be a part of the study. The way we take an informed consent prior to enrolling any participants, this is the first thing which you can do on this page over here. You can create a multiple choice question, I consent, and you can add options of yes, and no. Okay. Now, if I click on add question over here, it will just add one more question to the same list. After this, I can delete a question created from here. Every question, every tab on the lower border has an option of deleting it.
So can you please make it full screen?
I'll zoom in. Just a minute. Is it better now? Okay, so what I was saying is these are the basic navigation options. I can delete questions from here. I can duplicate the question, same question from here. I can make any question mandatory by just toggling this switch on and off. So if the informed consent question is something mandatory which you want all the participants to fill, I can just select this tab over here and make the question mandatory. Okay. Now adding a question, editing questions can all be possible from this column over here, this tab. If I click on add question, one question will just get added to the below. But if I want to now add a page to the survey, I will come and click over here and adding a section. So I click over here and automatically a second section gets added. So maybe this section can be about your demographics of your study participants, where this is the title given to the section, and then I can add different questions related to the demographics. So I might want to ask them their name. See, depending on the type of question I select, Google itself will select the best possible answer format. Over here, it is giving me an option of a short answer question. But these are all the different possible types of questions which can be asked. A short answer, a paragraph question, multiple choice type, checkbox type. So multiple options can be selected. A drop-down menu. You can upload some image or a file and ask your participants to identify things.
Sir, what is this drop-down menu?
We'll come
What
to that.
What purpose does it serve?
Yeah, I'll show you. Okay. So asking the name would be a short answer question. Okay, I add one more question now. I add a question of age. Fine. So age can again be a short answer question where a participant can just fill in their age. But if I don't want it to be in that format, I can now have it as a drop-down menu where my age of the participants, say it starts from 18. I want to enroll participants from 18 to 19, 18 to 30 years. So I will, in the drop-down menu, select all my options and manually enter them: 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and likewise that same thing will go, and you can create as many options as you want. So let's see how this actually shows up. Okay, if you want to preview your questionnaire, you have to come to the top of the page. There is this symbol of this eye. So you just click on it, a different page will open, which will show you how your questionnaire is going to be visible to the participants. Okay, so this was our introduction. We had created our informed consent, and then we had added a section, so it gives an option of moving on to the next page. In the next page, the first question was related to the name. So the participants have to fill in what their name. And then our second question was age. Here we had created a drop-down menu. So whatever options were in the drop-down menu, they will now show up over here. And the participant now has to just select one option. Understood, ma'am? This drop-down menu option. So if there are 10 things and you want your participants to select only amongst those 10, you can use this option to create it. Is that clear, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let's take another type of question. So this was my drop-down type question created about age. Now let me add another question.
And how are images used in the survey, sir? I
Okay.
haven't seen any images being used.
Fine. So I can have an image of, let me, in the question, add image. Okay, so I will add an image. Okay, let me add this image right now over here. Okay. And I can ask a question about this image. I should have ideally edited the image and maybe, deleted the title, but I can now add a question subsequent to that. Identify the model of reflective practice seen above. Okay, and then I can have a multiple choice question. Gives model. And then the participant has to now select the question. So this is how it will show up. This is the image shows up, and then the question, identify the reflective model seen above. So the participant will either select the correct response if it is going to be a multiple choice question, or you can change the type of question to a short answer question, where then the participant does not have to select, but now it will be an open-ended question. So see how it comes up over here. Earlier it was a multiple choice question, but now it is an open-ended question.
Then it is similar to that type of entrance examination questions.
Yes, yes. Clear? So the same way you can add an image, you can add a video from YouTube, you can add your video link. That is also possible.
Sir, before entering the images or a video, we have to go to the next
Just
section,
give me 1 second. Hello, sorry. Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Sir, for entering an image or a video, do I have to go to the next section, or can we continue in the section which is already there?
We can continue in the same section. Like this question is done already. Okay. Now I can just come here and directly and add image. So then the image uploading option comes up, and in the same section, the image will get added. If I want the image in the next section, then I will add a section to the form, and then I can add the image again or the video link again. So it's flexible, sir. There is no, it's not rigid as to where you can add it. It's flexible. You can decide where you want to add it, whether in the same section or in the next section.
The sections are like subheadings, sir, or it's going to
Sections
next
are like subheadings or different pages. You know, some you would have had surveys where everything is in a single form, single page. And then there would be surveys where you can have one page for demographics, you know, one page for some feedbacks, one page for some, you know, action steps, whatever. So it's up to you how you would want to create your form.
Okay.
If it's too much of a content which you want to ask, or if your questionnaire has well structured components in terms of sections, section 1, section 2, section 3, or section ABC, they can be taken up as different sections in the survey also. What else? Are you familiar with all these question types? Any other question type which you would like to explore right now? Aware of the difference between multiple choice and check boxes?
No, sir. I found
Okay.
that one is present in the form of circle, one is present in the form of square.
Yes. So the main difference is that in multiple choice, the participant can select only one option. Whereas in a checkbox, there can be multiple options which the participant can select. Okay. So select all possible options. So when there are more than one correct option which is correct, that is time you will select checkbox. So let's see how that turns up. See, in a multiple checkbox type option, the participant can select 2 or 3 options at a go. Whereas in a multiple choice type, only one correct option can be selected. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we discussed about multiple choice, we saw checkboxes, we saw the drop-down menu. Then of course there is a file upload. Then there is an option of a linear scale. Okay, so these are more of a rating scales. Rate your response on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being least interested and 5 being more maximally interested. So it can be 5, it can be 7, it can be up till 10. Okay, so over here now, the participants have the option of now selecting questions as an option from 1 to 10. You can ask questions like rate today's session on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being not at all useful, 5 can be highly useful. So we are basically converting quantitative components into qualitative responses. Or rather the other way, qualitative responses into quantitative numbers. This would be helping in basically statistical analysis further. So this was the linear scale type of questions. We have multiple choice grid questions where you might have questions like which are the common assessment methods used at your college. Okay, and you might want to give options of MCQs, say SAQs, LAQs, and on the second column, you are asking participants to grade the methods. Rank 1, rank 2, rank 3, rank 4. So now this will show up in this format. So for every row, you can select one option. MCQs, then LAQs, then SAQs, and then OSCE. So you can use this type of a question where you want your participants to grade or rank a series of items on a specific scale. Okay.
So what is LAQ, sir?
Long answer questions.
Long answer question.
This right now I'm just randomly, just immediately spontaneously thought of questions to show you right now as a while making the quiz, but you can decide what you want to have over here, which would be pertinent to your project and your questionnaire. And of course, then the remaining type of questions are related to dates and times. So if you can add a date box, it gives up a calendar for the participant to select, or a specific time response. But I don't think our surveys would need these type of questionnaires, but still that option is there. So for most of your projects, I think the type of questions which you would be using would be either short answer questions for some qualitative responses, multiple choice questions, check boxes, drop down, and linear scale, and maybe multiple choice grid. These five, six items which we saw today can be the most common questions which you would be using for your project. Okay, so once you have created your project, you can preview it from the preview tab over here. And once it's ready, you decide to send it out. You can click on the send button. Another page will come. You can either send it by email to your participants, or you can share the link with them. So this is the tab for the link. This is the entire link, which is pretty long. So you can just shorten the URL and copy it. And this is now there. You can paste it anywhere. You can paste it on the email. You can paste it on WhatsApp and send it out to your participants.
If you want to print it, then PDF format.
And the responses would. Yes, ma'am, please go ahead.
If you want to make a PDF copy of it.
PDF of what, ma'am?
This Google form. If you want to send the participant the hard copy.
Ma'am, the entire purpose of having a Google form is that so that it is in digital format. But if you want to have it as a hard copy, anyhow, you will be first making your hard copy as a Word document and then creating your Google form.
Okay.
So you have your Word document in place. You can just share that Word document as a hard copy.
Okay.
So responses, when they start coming in, will be visible from the responses tab over here. Let me show you another example of a Google form which is currently on. No, it's another survey which we are doing. See, I will just show you how the responses come up. So this is the introduction which I was talking about. In the introduction itself, you can introduce why the purpose of the survey, like how we do it in an informed consent form. And then you can take the consent from the participants. You can take the name on the first section, and then the second section can be demographics. Since this was a survey for teachers, we have asked them the years of experience as a multiple choice question. Their designation as a square box, because now they can have multiple designations. They can be dean and professor at the same time. So therefore, a square box over here. What faculty are they from? So again, a multiple choice type question, the type of institute. So this was a national level survey which we are doing. So accordingly, the questions have been framed. So this was all about demographics. Then we move on to the next section. So it's okay to not have a title. You know, every section need not have a title. We have asked them about all different types of trainings which they have had. Have you been a trainer? What are the top different 5 priority areas? So again, different areas listed out with rankings. And then a few qualitative questions, including long answer responses. And that's it, end of the survey. And when it comes to responses, so responses as they start building up, they will be shown over here. So you click on the responses tab. You can get a summary of responses, or responses can be seen for every individual question. So when you click on the summary is by default. So of course, everybody has given their consent. So 100% response for that. We have the names coming up. Now, the good thing about Google Forms is that it gives you images directly. The graphs also are coming up directly. I can just copy the graph from here and paste it wherever I want. The designations. So for every question which was asked, the responses are collated in this format. And Google does this all for you. So I think that is the advantage of doing this in Google Form, is that your entire work, which is otherwise a manual job in Excel, Microsoft Excel, is taken care of. Any further questions regarding questionnaire development?
Sir, can we send the Google form in a scannable format, sir? Or we have to send it only through the link? Like we can give a barcode or something.
You can create a QR code of the Google form. I'll show you how to do it. I'll show you how to do that. And you might be aware, sir, but for everybody's interest, I'll just show it. So this was our form. Okay. So what I will do is I'll just go to a QR code generator. There are many free QR code generators available out there. Okay. So this was our questionnaire, which we just created. I click on send. I click on the link, shorten the URL. I will copy the URL. Okay. And this you'll now go and paste it on my QR code generator. And that's it. This is the QR code here. So again, I can come here. I can just copy my image to the clipboard and paste it wherever I want. I can now paste it on a PPT. I can paste it or save it as an image, paste it on Paint and save it as an image, and it's taken care of. So yes, you can convert your your questionnaire link into a QR code as well. It's possible using a QR code generator. Okay, sir.
Sir, thank you, sir.
Yeah, welcome. Any further
Sir,
questions?
there are 3 vertical dots next to send button, sir.
On the, yeah.
Google, sir, there are certain things like get pre-filled link. What do they mean, sir? Script editors, if they are important to know, sir.
I'll tell you what is important. Okay. So you're next to the send button, there are these 3 dots.
Yes, sir.
It gives an option of more. So when you click on it, you can make a copy of the entire Google form. You
Sure.
can just delete the entire form.
Sure.
You can print out the form, what madam was asking. Yes, it's possible to print out the questionnaire through here. What is more important or what is more commonly used is add collaborators. Okay, so you can use this add collaborator option to share or give editing rights to a colleague or to your project advisor or to a mentor who will be helping you in creating and working on the form as well as in analyzing the results.
Sir, how to do that, sir?
Just a minute, the page is loading. Yeah, I click on add collaborators. And I can add collaborators by adding their email. I just select them, I add the email, and that's it. I can decide whether they are going to be just editors to my form or just viewers. So the moment I add their name, okay, I can add multiple people and I click on send. The moment I click on send, an email will go out to them saying that they are now collaborators onto this project.
Sir, this is before making the Google form so that the collaborators can add up the questions, or this is during the process of
Anytime, sir, anytime. This can be done at the beginning. This can be done while doing the analysis. It's up to you. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And then there are, of course, a few other settings related to the form. So you can use the form to make it a quiz. Right now, we don't want this as a quiz. I will turn this option off. You might want manage how responses are collected. So whether you want to collect emails or not, whether you want to send the respondents a copy of their email or not, whether you want to limit to one response or whether they can submit multiple responses or not. So all these things can be controlled from the settings tabs over here. But usually even at the basic level, the basic settings would suffice. And coming to the responses once they are populated over here, you can click on the three dots over here and download the responses. They will all download as an Excel file. Right now, since there are no responses, the download option is not seen. But otherwise, once the responses are available, we will get the option to download responses from here. Okay, so I think it is now time for all of you to start making your Google Forms and spend good amount of time on doing it and improvising it and validating it with us and with your peers before you actually go into the execution mode. Any further questions, please? Okay, so we are there available on WhatsApp. If you face any question, issue or difficulty while creating your Google form, you can just add us as collaborators, me or Dr. Chinmay, and we will be there to help you troubleshoot the problem while creating the Google form. So if there are no further questions, then we can call it a day now. Okay, so that's it. Thank you, everyone. Just
Thank you, sir.
a reminder for today's activity on reflection. So use the Gibbs model to reflect on today's session. Okay, so that's the assignment for you. Maybe from a half page to maximum of 1 page write-up. You can create it, keep it ready, and we'll tell you where to upload it, either on a Moodle or on the group.
Okay. Good night.
Okay then. So see you all. See you all next week. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.